Good morning, everybody. I want to welcome the people that are Zoom room and watching on Facebook. I am Love Coach Scott Katamas here with Jasmine Bear. She's going to be part of today's show because our guest is Linda Bender, who is a wonderful author and understands animals. And today we're going to especially be talking about the spiritual aspect to our relationships with our animals and the spiritual lives of our animals. So it's going to be a really beautiful show. So grab your dogs, your cats, your hamsters, your geese, your bunny rabbits, whatever furry friends or feathered friends that you might have. And think about what questions you might have for Linda, because it's going to be a very interactive show today. So we're excited about that. And of course, it is Sunday. And a reminder, we can make any day sacred, any moment sacred, by choosing to see the divine in all. Choosing to see the divine in yourself. It's easy to see the divine in nature, in the trees, in the birds, in the sky. But let's practice seeing divinity in the people around us, in ourselves, and especially seeing the divine even in those people that trigger us, that we judge. What if it's all God, life, experiencing itself? So with that, I'm going to take us into our Sacred Sunday morning meditation. And a reminder that you can play along at your own pace, but I invite everybody, take a break from your devices for a moment. And let's close our eyes. Let's just start with breath. Breathing at your own pace. And as we breathe, we drop into our body temple. We shut out distractions of the external world. Just let my voice gently guide you as you tune in and connect to your beautiful, sacred body temple. And a wonderful way to connect is to start with gratitude. And let's just start by being grateful for our bodies. That our bodies are functioning so beautifully. Even though we might have some aches and some pains and some little challenges, you can hear my voice. You can enjoy the senses. Our bodies are amazing, and we give thanks for our body. And as you give thanks and you tune into your body, remember that the body is constantly informing us. Even discomfort is the body letting us know that maybe a particular part of our body needs some love, needs some attention. So, what parts of your body would love some extra love and attention right now? Just doing a little bit of an inventory. And now I want to invite us to adjust our consciousness or awareness to those animals that are precious in our life. They may be animals that are still in their body, or maybe beloved animals, pets, family members, furry and feather, that we've had in the past, who we shared love with, we shared time with, we shared divine sacred connection with. So I'm going to invite us to have a minute or two of silence for us all to drop into gratitude for our beloved animal teachers, animal guides, animal beloveds, past and present. Just giving thanks. Thank you to life. Thank you to those amazing beings that have taught us lessons of love, patience, playfulness, joyfulness, devotion. As we open our eyes, I get to introduce today's guest. You know, one of the things that I love to do is on Saturday Night Live, I meet new people. Oftentimes I'm inviting people I've worked with before, but I also meet new people. When I meet somebody like Linda Bender, it's like, I want you to be on my Straight Talk or my Sacred Sunday show so we can go deep. I can get to know you better. So this is Linda Bender. She is, many of you saw her when you saw our animals show a couple months ago. She's a best-selling author and clearly has dedicated her life to helping us connect and understand our relationships to our animals. She's pure love herself. Clearly, she has embodied much of what she's probably learned from her animal friends over the years. So welcome, Linda. It's great to have you with us.
Thank you so much. And the first thing I want to say is I'm so very, very grateful that you've invited me on this show, because there's nothing I love more than to share the wisdom of the animals and the things I've taught over my entire life, to share with others and help others, especially at this difficult time. And so I'm very grateful, and I'm very grateful also for the work you're doing. It's great. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And I want to invite everybody on Facebook. I'll be periodically checking what's going on in the Facebook chat and in our Zoom room. Tell us, who are your animal friends? Nancy is with Myrtle the turtle. And we've got Peter from Paiute Territory, Nevada, and he's with his doggies, Cody and Yo-Yo. And we've got about a dozen people in our Zoom room and many people watching on Facebook. So don't be shy. Tell us about your animal friends and then any questions you have for Linda.
I'd like to say one thing. Do you know that gal who has the turtle, do you know that humans have been here for about 200,000 years. Turtles have been roaming this earth for 200 million years.
Wow.
There is much wisdom in your turtle friend.
Oh, thank you for sharing that. You know, I'll share a turtle story. When my wife and I took our honeymoon, we called it the Honeython because we visited 8 countries over 6 weeks. And we finished in Turkey. And she had arranged for us to be at a beautiful beach in Turkey. And it just turned out by pure coincidence that that particular beach is where loggerhead turtles lay their eggs. And we happened to be there at the time that the eggs were hatching. And the World Wildlife Foundation was there to protect, to make sure that we, the human beings, didn't mess with the process. And so, you know, early in the morning, we saw all these people going down at sunrise to the beach. So we went down and discovered what was happening. Now, here's the interesting thing. What happens is Mama loggerhead turtle returns to the very beach where she was born. She goes way up into the sand, not close to the water, way up in the sand, digs a hole, buries the eggs, covers it up, goes back into the water, and she splits. And those eggs, those little turtles, are all on their own. And they have to, on their own, figure out when to hatch, to climb up, and then find the water. And what happens is as the sun rises, they follow the sun towards the water. And they have to build up enough strength in their little march to the water so that their legs are strong enough to handle getting in the water and handling the tides. And literally, it's like Ben-Hur marching through the desert, you know, watching these little turtles trying to make it. And human nature, you want to pick them up and help them. And the people say, no, they've got to build up their own strength. Some of the turtles don't make it. But the ones that do, when you talk about age, that's what made me think of this. A loggerhead turtle, those little guys that were this big when we saw them, they can live to be 200 years old and get up to 800 pounds. Isn't that amazing?
And the wisdom of turtles, oh, immense.
Give us an example. Give us an example.
Well, I'll give you an example of one of the things I wanted to mention today is what are the incredible abilities of animals. And one of them is navigation and migration. And to be perfectly frank, we don't have the answers. We just don't have the answers. And this is a true story of one of these huge turtles that you're speaking of, way, way, way on the other side of the world. And these sailors were going home to England on a boat, and they found one of these turtles and they caught it and put it on board. I guess they were going to make turtle soup. Who knows? But at any rate, about 2/3 of the way, almost to the UK, the turtle was looking ill and something was wrong. And they said, do we really want this? No. And they pushed it overboard. Well, that particular way, almost to the UK, the turtle was looking ill. And are we okay with sound?
Yes, we are.
Yeah, okay. So they dumped the turtle overboard. That particular turtle happened to be marked and found its way more than halfway around the world back to its home.
Wow.
Yeah, their intelligence is astonishing, and that is a great demonstration of these abilities that animals have that we simply cannot explain. We have lots of theories, but we simply can't explain it all. There are lots of theories, and there's a few that I believe in, and we can get into some of that. So how do animals do this? You know, that's a big, big question.
So we've got a couple questions already from our audience. I'm going to ask Joyce's question and Annette's question. But I just want to say, yeah, I had a similar experience, not as dramatic as what you described with the turtle, but I had a black Siamese cat many years ago, and we moved and we got to the new place and the cat ran away, and she made her way 5 miles to our previous home, 5 miles, and crossed a highway.
Oh my.
A highway. I mean, because the only possible way she could get from where we were to the old house would be to go across the highway, not a freeway, but a highway. I mean, it's unbelievable. And there she was 2 days later, took her about 2 days back at the old house. And her neighbor said, you know, your cat, Midnight's here. Midnight was the name of the cat, Black Siamese. All right, so we're going to, I want to just acknowledge some of the people that are here with their animals, and then I've got some questions for you. Cheryl from Laguna Beach is here with her parrots, Bernie and Kaika. Doug is here with his ill white birdie, visits the other side. Victoria is here with all of her yellow Labrador. We've got Nancy with her turtle that we already heard from. And I'm going to get to Facebook. We've got actually some questions that came in on Facebook. So I'm going to ask you those questions. And the first one is from Lorna Sass. She's a regular on our show. And Lorna asks, how can I connect with my beloved Siamese cat, Minnie, who died 15 years ago?
Oh, wow. Well, that is a question, an important question. And it's a question I'm often asked. And what I want to say, because I'd like to dive into a little discussion about what animals, and particularly our beloved companion animals, teach us about death and dying and life after life. Love to get into some of that. But really, our animals are much more aware while they're in this life with us, when they're incarnate with us. They're aware. They live in a state of consciousness that is closer to spirit. So when they cross over, they're not quite as afraid They believe, they trust in this life, and they believe and trust in what happens after this life. And when they leave, they kind of don't understand why we don't get it, that they really haven't left. Your cat has never left you. Your cat has changed in your relationship. For example, you are very much missing the physical presence of your cat, but your cat is still with you in a different form. And usually it's the humans who have trouble connecting to the animals on the other side, and the animals on the other side are often knocking on the door to let us know that they are there. And one of the things that people do, and especially when we love so deeply, is that we try. The problem with trying so hard to connect is that that actually has the opposite effect. And it pulls us away from listening and opening. And one way I think that can be very helpful is to open a communication with your cat through a dream state. It sounds as though you've been trying many things. What I would suggest you do is before you go to bed, just set the intention that you would like a communication, a message, a picture, a dream, anything. Be receptive to what can come to you from your cat in a dream. And what happens often then is you've let go in the dream state, you've let go of your trying too hard, and it's easier to create a connection. I suggest trying that and let me know what happens.
Beautiful. Let's talk a little bit more about what happens when animals die, because it is something we wonder about. So they're still connected to us, but what's their experience? Are they in what we might call heaven or the astral plane? Are they running around playing with other spirit doggies and cats? Are they reincarnating? Are there little ghost bodies on the bed with us?
May I totally confuse you by saying all of the above?
I had a feeling that's where you might go. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, yeah, tell us.
Well, animals have so much to teach us. And gosh, there's so many things I could say, but a lot of what we think is paranormal is really normal. A lot of what we think is supernatural is really natural. And those abilities that animals display, let's say one thing right away. We are all psychic. We all have these abilities to connect, telepathy, precognition, after death communication. We have all these things, but animals are better at it, okay? And so they are such wonderful teachers to us. Well, we can get into things like morphic fields, blah, blah, blah. I believe, and in my lifelong experience with animals, when they cross over when it is the right time for them. You may not think it's the right time for you, or you may not think it's the right time for them, but they know when it's time to be here. They know when it's time to leave, and they can help us on that journey. It's Rumi said, I love a Rumi quote. It's goodbyes are only for those who love with their eyes, but for those who love with their hearts and their souls, there's no such thing as that separation. Mm-hmm. So the more we enter that consciousness where we are all one, where time and space and dimension are one, animals help us get there. And so, may I give you an example?
Please. Yeah, this is great. This is really good.
I have a database of so many stories of people who've written in their own personal stories with their animals. And it covers everything. It covers, one example, a story I think is so cute, is there was a woman who lost her black cat. Kitty died, and she was absolutely devastated. But before the kitty died, they had a very telepathic, close connection. And this lady had a girlfriend who would come over, a neighbor girlfriend who would come over from time to time. And she always debunked the stories that her friend told her. Oh, come on, there's no such thing about this. No, telepathy doesn't exist, none of that. You know, when we die, it's over, whatever. Well, after the cat died, the lady who owned the kitty saw her a few times. Like she just appeared in the kitchen.
Wow.
Where she spent most of her time. But what is so hilarious about this story, and why I'm sure that you know, the cosmic choreography has a wonderful sense of humor, is the morning that this friend came over to visit her girlfriend, she suddenly went, whoa, and tripped in the kitchen hall. And she said, the other friend said, well, my God, what happened? What happened? And her eyes were wide like saucers. And she said, oh my God, I just tripped over your cat.
Wow.
So I believe, as you're saying, animals come to us as they're needed. They show up in this life as they're needed, and they show up in the afterlife as they're needed. I have a place called Rainbow Bend that I created when I was a little girl, where I invited all my animal friends who left this world to come and join me. They come and go, we hang out, we have a great time. It's where I'm going to go when I leave here. And so don't diminish the possibilities. Our animals love us. They take care of us when we're here. They take care of us when we're not here, when they're not here. And I'll tell you one thing, I don't have all the answers, Scott. You know, there's so many things that happen that go beyond my understanding. And reincarnation is very real. I have several, well, more than several stories in my database about reincarnation that I know are real. I can share a few of those if you'd like, but it's all over the map, because wasn't it Plato who once said, there comes a time when we have to understand we don't know anything. That's also a Native American proverb that says every animal knows more than you do. So I don't like to define what they're doing on the other side, because I know some of what they're doing. I don't know all that they're doing. And I'm consistently surprised and astonished. I even had a cat, one of my beloved cats, for 18 years. And 7 years later, another cat was coming into my life because I couldn't bear to have another cat. We were so close. Whimsy, I have wonderful Whimsy stories. Whimsy, I contacted Whimsy and I said, oh, is this you? Is this you coming back? Should I take this cat? What, tell me more. And Whimsy said the strangest thing. Whimsy said to me, obviously not in words, but just let me know that Whimsy said, that's 3% of me. 3% is there. And I thought, what? So much is going on that we don't know and understand.
Very, very, very interesting.
But that's exciting to me. You know, that's exciting to me because I am a creative, but I'm also a scientist. And what I want to say is I'm very much on the bandwagon. I love science, but science is not a dogma. Science is a method of inquiry. And skeptics are good. You know, it's good to be a skeptic, but open-minded. Listen with the mind of a child, and you will receive so much beyond what you expect.
Beautifully. You know, there's an interesting thing about the word skeptical. Skeptical is a good thing to be, because skeptical comes from the Greek word skeptos.
Yes.
Back in ancient Greece, when it was all the great philosophers, you mentioned Plato already, there was the Skeptos Society. And the purpose of the Skeptos Society was to examine every issue that came up in Greek culture from every possible point of view. The exact opposite of being dogmatic, what you
Yes.
said, being curious and
Yeah.
exploring. And so being skeptical is good. Cynical is not. Cynical is, a negative bias, but skeptical is a healthy thing.
That's right. That's right. Yes. Thank you for saying that.
On death and what happens when we die, because we've done many shows on death and dying. I've done documentaries on near-death experiences. And of course, on one level, it's a great mystery, and none of us know for sure. But one of the most meaningful understandings that I've received came from Jane Roberts, who channeled Seth. And she was a very popular channel back in the 70s, I'm guessing. And In the Nature of Personal Reality, which is a powerful and profound book, Seth helps us to understand by saying, look, think about how many different human existences there are. It's like 8 billion human beings. And each life is radically different, right? And so you could not say, oh, well, to be a human being is what Linda Bender did or what Scott did. We're all so radically different.
Yes.
And likewise, the options and considerations and possibilities are even greater when we die. So many diverse possibilities of what we might experience. And that really helped give me a framework, because we want to believe that, okay, well, this is what's going to happen. And we want to have a structured understanding. And like you said, it's all true. It's all possible.
It's all possible. Our friend, my dear friend, Michael Tamara, was on your show. And he has had 5 or so near-death experiences. And he always says, I've never gone through the tunnel and seen the white light ever. It all depends. It's all a very personal, individual thing, depending on your life experience, your consciousness, basically
belief systems.
What you bring to it is what meets you and greets you, which I think is brilliant, because St. Francis of Assisi spoke of these things years ago. And he had his awakening experience and said many of the things that you just said. And he said, we are all connected. He was one of the first people that said we're all connected, and particularly with the animals. And they say he was on such an energetic level that he could communicate with the animals and speak to the animals. But I believe it was the other way around. I believe that Francis spent so much time in nature that the animals actually taught him, which is what happened to me and many others. And a lot of the animals that I have connected with are not necessarily alive. They're on what we might call the other side. And sometimes I'm not even sure. There was an elephant that I adored on one of my trips to Africa. And that elephant crossed over, and we had been communicating over the years. And not too long ago, I was doing some work with elephants and was checking in, and I still wasn't sure. I said, are you here, or are you, elsewhere? Where are you? And so the veil gets so much thinner, and the distinction between here, there, and everywhere becomes less. Is that making sense?
Yes.
So maybe it's all a spectrum. And depending on where we are in that understanding and in that consciousness and in that energetic vibration is what we experience. And that may be true. When we talk about the present moment, and that's what we love about animals. Animals bring us in the present moment, taking us away from the monkey mind of the past and the future, where we all tend to be mired. What is the present really? What animals have told me is that, talk about a spectrum, maybe the present moment is a larger field than we think it is.
Absolutely.
and
And
overlaps with many, many other things that are going on, both in this world and the other. There's so many variables, and I've experienced so much that I'm too humble to say I know for sure.
thank you.
Where one thing starts and another thing begins. I learned that as a little girl out in the back garden with birds. When I was a skinny little kid, couldn't make it in the human world. I was just a mess.
Oh.
I had a mother who had emotional issues and really couldn't love me the way I think she probably did love me, but
Right.
my love came from the critters outside, and I think they knew it. They knew it. They almost adopted me. I was imprinted by those birds. And I was a little kid. I had no concept of anything. I thought it was normal that this bird and I would connect at a heart level. And I was so open, and I was received in their world. And I would lose the boundaries of where I ended and nature began and the tree, and where that bird began and ended. And it was all one beautiful, words are so difficult to describe that oneness, but it truly was the oneness of love and the sacred connection between all life. And I was invited into that world. That was my life growing up.
Wow, what a beautiful, beautiful way to start. And taking a very sad and challenging, perhaps even tragic childhood, and then finding, making lemonade out of those lemons. It's beautiful.
Oh, well, I'll tell you a story early on that changed. Well, it brought an understanding to me who I was. And my father was my big champion when I was a little girl, because every little critter managed to find its way to my door. I was fixing birds, doing this, shoe boxes full of this critter, that critter. They were all surrounded with me, and I was in bliss every time I was with the animals. So my dad was a champion. And one day he came home and he said, "I'm so excited. I'm going to take you to the zoo. I am going to take you to see animals. We're going to go see wild animals." And I have no recall of what this place was. It's long gone, thank God. But I got all ready, and I remember walking with my father. My father was very tall, wonderful man, and he was holding my hand, and he said, "Come on." And the first thing I saw was a giant cage. Like it had like an old circus cage, with the bars and all that. It was black iron, about, I'm thinking, 50 yards. And my dad was holding my hands, and we walked closer and closer and closer to this cage. And I went from euphoric, excited expectation to suddenly, oh my God, everything changed. And what came flooding to me the closer I got to this beautiful black panther that was pacing in this cage was the anguish and the fear and the dread that this animal was experiencing. And I felt everything. I felt everything that gorgeous being was feeling. And so I tightened my grip on my father, and I said, "Dad, Dad, Dad, no, this is terrible. She wants, get her out of there, get her out of there." My poor father didn't know what to do. We had to leave. I became hysterical. And it was at that moment when I realized not only did I have this immense connection, but there was tremendous suffering that I took on, that it wasn't all light and bliss and happiness in this world. And it began this whole understanding in me that one of the reasons I was here was to help and to stop and end the suffering in any way I could throughout my life. But that empathic connection is hard for people, and there are many of us like that in environmental conservation, animal helpers, advocates. And it's tough. It can be tough. It can be tough.
Yeah, thank you for that. And I'm imagining that the majority of our viewers are highly empathic.
Yes, that's why I'm saying this.
So I appreciate you sharing that, yeah, because it is hard to be sensitive in this world. It's easier to be callous. It's ultimately not as rewarding, right? But being sensitive definitely has its drawbacks. And that's a powerful story. I can visualize it, going from little girl excited with daddy, what am I going to see?
Yeah.
To feeling the
horror,
the pain of the animal. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we are going to get to some questions. We've been getting a lot of questions coming in while we chat. But one thing I just had to share briefly, when we were talking about not really understanding and knowing, my wife passed away almost 10 years ago now. And we were very close. And I was very blessed to have a series of incredible experiences of connecting with her after she died.
Oh, beautiful.
And mainly because I'm blessed to know a lot of top of the line psychics because of all the television shows I've done with psychics. And just a few days after she died, one of the most profound psychics I know called me and shared with me some of the messages she was getting. And one of the messages was, my wife's name was Suchi. Suchi said, what's most curious is our dogs, Krishna and Bubuli, are with me here, but I know that they're also still with Scott. And that always stuck with me. And actually, Bubuli is still with us. He's right in his little bed about a few feet away. And that to me was so fascinating, that our dogs were with her in the spirit world while still physically being in their physical bodies with me. And so I wanted to mention that and see if you had any thoughts or comments.
Oh, Scott, that is a perfect example of what I'm saying about there's so much, we think we get it. Okay, the animals are there, they're over there, they're in their little heaven, they're just, or they're not, or that. No, it doesn't work that way. And that is the genius of it all and the blessing of it all. But you accepted that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And that's so beautiful. And it's probably more beautiful. What a gift. What a gift to know.
Yeah. I loved that. It was like, cool, they're with her too. How wonderful. And I do believe we are multidimensional beings.
Yes.
And I have had some experiences that have shown me, oh, wow, like you said, this is 3% of me. What if all of us as human beings, this is only 3%
yes.
of who we truly are, because we're up on the astral plane and we're in other places and we're in dimensions that our little pea brains can't comprehend. If our brains, the people who have comprehended it, end up in insane asylums. It's a good thing that we don't understand all and are connected to all the places where we are, because we're crazy.
Yeah, I think you're actually spot on there, because I know stories of people who've tried to speed up the process of understanding and learning, and from drugs or whatever. And you're absolutely right. They've ended up unable to function and kind of really, permanent damage. I think that that happened to me when I was a kid. I don't know why. I've always been out there. But I remember as a kid saying, okay, I'm going to try to understand. I'm going to try to wrap my head around what infinity is. And I had a bizarre experience, because I really tried. And I noticed that something I didn't like, something very uncomfortable was happening. And I knew that I had to pull back, that it was not something that my brain could function with. So I've always had a very high respect for, today I learned this, tomorrow I learned something else. And it's adding every day on the path. to where we're going in a higher consciousness and transformation. We don't transform because we read a book, Scott, right?
Right. It has to be experiential. Right? A book can guide us to an experience.
Yeah.
But, I know. Can tell us about what it's like to be on the beach in France.
Yeah.
But it's not the same as being on the beach.
Yeah, that's right. Because you can read every book about love, or you can read every book about animal communication. My publisher gets really mad when I say these things because I really want you to read my book. But you experience. And when you experience, the next experience is more beautiful, it's more joyful, and you open to more. And the heart never stops opening. And that's why I believe these things are so blessed with animals. And they consistently bless us more and more and more because they open our hearts. We trust them. And so we allow our hearts to open. But that heart opening never stops. Yeah. That is an infinite experience.
Okay, I'm going to get to our panelist questions. Thank you. Your love is so beautiful. It's really great to have you here, Linda.
Thank you.
All right, so here's, and I will try and get to everybody's questions. Be patient with me. I'm going to start with Cheryl has a question. She says, our male parrot, Bernie, has an anxious obsession with one of us, frantically searching, pacing, or even screaming when she is in a different room. Why do you suppose he does this? And is there anything we can do to ease his anxiety?
Oh, parrot. It's parrot. Yes. Yeah, parrot. Parrots. Oh God, I have some wonderful parrot stories. Birds are fascinating because think about it. We've had relationships with our dogs and cats. They've been with us, in this human situation for a long time. Birds really not. But I've done a lot of work with birds, specifically parrots. And I had a parrot once who actually did the same thing that you're describing here. Parrots develop an incredible emotional bond to a human. Now, I believe, without knowing any of this, I believe that parrot has bonded with that one particular human. And that same thing happened to me. And if I left the room or I was with, say, my sister, the bird would get immensely jealous. So I believe this is an anxiety and a jealousy thing because of that connection the bird has bonded with this human. That's a tough thing. I mean, I don't know what the relationship is there, or is that one of the owners? You might want to ask that.
Yeah, Cheryl, and Cheryl does say it's a parrot, and the parrot does have a female mate. And so, Cheryl, maybe give us a little more information.
That doesn't matter.
So it's like, it's like a little kid that when mommy goes away, the little kid goes nuts,
Yes.
Because
and
the
high jealousy. And the bird, what kind of parrot is it? Because they'll often mimic the other people around that they don't like, who they think might be getting in the way of that relationship. My parrot who did that used to cackle when she'd hear my sister laughing in like a spoiled little kid, like you're saying.
Wow. All right, well, let's see. Give us a little more information, Cheryl. I'm going to ask another question or bring up another question. And one of the person Cheryl just wrote, the person that the parrot is so bonded with is one of the owners who is 16.
Okay.
And it's a Kaiku parrot. Oh, I guess the parrot is 16. I'm sorry. It's one of the owners that lives in the house.
Yes.
And it's a Kaikue parrot that is 16.
Yeah.
16 years old. And I know parrots love to be up to 100, right?
Yep. Not so much in captivity for a multitude of reasons, but this is what happens. This is not uncommon that this bonding happens, and it's actually hard to deal with. But I think the amount the most love that can be afforded this bird, the better. I mean, tough
So
one.
just a lot of reassurance. What
Yes.
would you like to make a recording and play the recording of the owner's voice over and over and over? Does something like that help?
Or photograph, or that person could have a routine. In other words, I mean, again, I don't know the circumstances, but if that person could have a routine time when they visit the bird or sit with the bird or feed the bird or take the bird out and hold the bird and share affection maybe on a regular basis, then some of the anxiety might be quelled.
Yeah. All right, we have another really tough question, and that is from Annette. She's on Facebook watching. How can you tell when it's time to euthanize? In her case, it's a dog. How do you know when it's time to euthanize?
Very tough question. And so often over the years, I've been asked this. And again, I believe that an animal leaves us when it's time. When it's their time to go is when they leave. Not too soon, not too late. But what happens in these situations is if we are expressing tremendous grief, upset, terrible emotional loss at the thought of this dog passing, they will tend to hang on. So one thing and it's so difficult, and I've been through this myself, trust me, I speak from personal experience on this. When are we able to say, let's step back, this is not about me right now, how can I best serve my companion friend? So pull back my reactions of grief at them leaving, look to them, and telepathically, through the heart, through communicating, ask them when it's their time. And usually animals will let us know. They'll stop eating, or they know what they're doing, but they're so tuned into us that we need to step back and say what's best for the dog. Now, if there's immense suffering and agony going on, it's maybe easier to make those decisions, but when the dog is just slowly fading, that's tough. Yeah. But listen to the dog.
Yeah, I think it's hard too, because the physical body is built to survive. I've had 5 dogs, and I've been lucky in that none of them ever got hit by a car. They all died of old age. One had a brain tumor, and so I had to put him down earlier at age 10. But he still was 10 years old, Shepherd Collie Wolf mix.
Right.
But my last dog, who passed, was almost 18. And we were super close. And I can say for all my dogs, I've been close to all of them. Yeah. He and I were the closest. I mean, just an incredible bond. Mm-hmm. And he went down from 22 pounds to 10 pounds. He could barely eat. Yes. I had to, do most everything for him. And I really did everything. It was like, hey, it's okay. You can go. And I was almost really honestly wanting him to pass.
Oh.
I mean, I do believe in life after death. And
sure. Right. Don't suffer on my account.
Yeah.
Right.
And, the little guy just hung in there. And when I tuned in, it was just like, there was the love. He wasn't that uncomfortable, but also the body is built to survive. Right. The body has its own intelligence to just survive no matter what, Right. So it's a tricky one, taking into account all of those considerations.
And if there's a very close bond, that animal knows what's going on and knows this person's ability to do well or not do well. Quick story of my beloved Whimsy cat. We were just beyond close. I couldn't even comprehend what it would be like when Whimsy left me, but he slowly faded from chronic kidney failure. And I remember that days went by. I was giving him sub-Q fluids. I was doing everything. I couldn't even think of him leaving. No, this is just an episode. He'll get better. He'll get better. It hit me that finally he wasn't going to get better. And at the very end of his life, he sat with me and I held him on my lap. And then I thought, this is so odd. This is so odd because it was my daughter's 5th birthday.
Wow.
That he chose to leave. And I didn't understand it because I was so enveloped with grief because he slowly passed in my arms. But immediately when he passed that night, I had a dream and a connection to him. And he said, I left today because I know how hard it was going to be for you, but Jamie is here and it's her birthday today. And now you have her. She is here for you. It was her 5th birthday.
Wow.
I mean,
wow. Yeah, amazing. Amazing. Another question that came through, kind of a tricky one. And this is from Peter. Is Peter still in the room with us? Yes, he is. Peter writes, Cody is my adult son's dog, 10 years old now. And he used to pinch his nose and hold him in a lock hold in bed. Then they moved in with me and Cody bonded with me. Now Cody, the dog, fears my son, sleeps with me, and my son feels bad. Cody even cowers down now when my son approaches, and I wonder if there's something that I can do.
I, number one, would work. I mean, I don't know what's going on with the son, but I think that he needs to learn valuable lessons from that, which I'm sure he has. But slowly regaining trust, because trust was lost, trust was broken. So no longer is that relationship a safe place for that dog.
Mm-hmm.
So very slowly, his son will have to come up with ways to regain that trust. Perhaps, well, hopefully very slowly. Sitting together, offering food, offering treats, sitting in nature together, gentle touching, possibly even sitting in meditation together. Anything that can be calming and opening of the heart. The dog's heart is not trusting, so that has to be regained. Would it not be the same for a child or any other person? How would you regain the trust of someone who you've hurt?
I've read that dogs are approximately the equivalent to a 2 to 3 year old child in terms of about their capacity to comprehend. And is that about right?
I think that's an average. I think that's an average. But again, you know, I keep using the word spectrum, but even with animals, you know, telepathic abilities, psychic abilities, and all that, not everybody's the same. So there may be a dog that's very receptive to something, or perfectly honest, wiser dog, you know. So there's variability there. You know, I've had dogs that just are as smart as they need to be. I've had dogs that have been like, oh my God, you're the bodhisattva. I mean, so again, it's not the same, but that would be a good average, I would say, 3.
So I wanted to introduce you to my other one. This is Mr. Boobles, also known as Bubuli.
Hi.
He was fairly young. He was 1.5 years when my wife died. So he was one of the two that was up there with her as well as with us. And now he's getting older. He's about 12. I found him. It was an amazing story. He was a puppy looking for his right family. So I know that you mentioned that sometimes you can telepathically get connections. So I'm just curious if there's anything that you pick up from Mr. Boobles.
I mean, before you're even finishing the sentence, I'm hearing, you know, Dad, I'm spending a lot of time on the other side.
Wow.
Now, that doesn't mean I'm leaving. That just means I'm there a lot more than maybe you think I do. I'm here, there, and everywhere. And the older I am, the more I'm able to do that and be comfortable in, you know, on many dimensions. I think that's gorgeous.
Yeah, it's very cool, isn't it? So when you're sleeping and you're having all those dreams and snoring, you're on the other side. Yeah, okay. That's good to know. Yeah. Anything else that comes up?
You know, all the gurus and teachers teach us that to be in that present moment where that little baby is right now is what we all need to be doing more of. And listen to me, learn from me, listen to me, learn from me. I'm practically getting that screamed at me. Listen to me, learn from me.
Okay, you got it, pal. You got it.
It's like it's almost like the attitude is, will you come on already? You know?
Oh, that's good. Somebody wants to see the dog one more time. Okay, here we go.
Yes.
Up we go.
Let's see.
Yeah,
Oh,
you can see him.
what a beauty. Oh.
This is Mr. Boobles. He's a kisser. He's a kisser.
Oh boy, he has unbounded love for you.
Well, likewise. Likewise. He's a good
boy.
He's a good boy. Yeah. Yeah. All right, I'll let you go back to your bed. There you go. Up. Well, Linda, thank you so much. I'm going to take one last look, see if there are any other significant questions from our Facebook friends. And just people talking about, well, Annette, who had asked about her dog, or her cat, I'm sorry. Was it a dog or a cat? She was asking about, oh, she's written so many messages here. I'm trying to
how to connect with her cat, the cross.
She was the one asking about animal ghosts. Yeah, so tell us a little bit about animal ghosts.
Well, animals are interesting because I do believe that they're around on that one story from my database where they'll actually show up as they were in life, as you remember them, but they're not, they're not incarnate, but they'll show up. And if you want to call that a ghost or whatever. But I also know that animals who are incarnate now pick up and see ghosts far more than we do. Mm-hmm. I had a dog who was able to do that, pick up spirits, the feeling, and even the jump out of the way. Mm-hmm. And so I do believe they'll show up if that's what's being called to do. Okay, so yes, absolutely. I believe they see ghosts. I believe they become ghosts. Mm-hmm. But such a strange word. I prefer to think of it as just, the energy of spirit showing up, because and specifically animals would never want to frighten a human.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we have so many connotations with ghosts, many of which are negative.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
So it is important to talk to spirit. Well, all right, tell us how people can get more Linda Bender. What's the best way for people to reach you?
Well, you can go to my website, lindabender.org, and there's all kinds of stuff on there. And I like to invite everybody to my Facebook, which is Dr. Linda Bender.
Hold on, I've pulled up your website. So there it is. Love those pictures. Look at that beautiful dog. Wow.
That's my Pepper.
Oh my God, Pepper's gorgeous. And there you are talking with our friend Deepak.
My buddy Deepak.
Yeah, we've had Deepak on the show several times.
Yeah, it's a good man.
Yeah,
I want you to know, I told him he had to raise the bar about his understanding of animals. That was 10 years ago.
Good for you. Good for you. Oh.
And he has.
Well, so there's a lot going on here. So it's lindabender.org. And your book is Animal Wisdom, Learning from the Spiritual Lives of Animals.
Yes. And I love if you email me and message me on my Facebook and sign up.
Yeah, so you can sign up and look at how easy it is. I just did that. So I just subscribed. And so that's a really good thing to do. Wonderful. And people can get your book by going to, just click on book and there it is. You can get it from Amazon or Barnes and Noble. So there's a lot of ways to continue to learn from Linda. Do you do private coaching sessions for people?
I do actually. I do a lot of coaching and helping of advocates, because if you read my book, the stories and everything that I've gone through. And I teach what I have learned over a lifetime of advocating for animals. And it's a lot of good stuff. And we need everybody now to show up as their best selves, because the animals so desperately, desperately need us. And many of us who are empaths, we've got to learn that that is a blessing, not something that holds us back, that is our greatest strength. And that is so important for us to learn and to gather our courage to show up and help these critters that need us. And they're so grateful and they have so much to teach us. And I could go on and on for
Well, thank you. Doug just wrote a nice quote, comment. Doug writes, I always loved animals since a kid. Some years ago, I learned two concepts about animal communication. The animal communicator taught me emotion and visual images can be ways to communicate with animals. I've experimented with that over the years, and some of the experiences I've had are amazing.
Great. Love and devotion. Just let me say this one thing,
Sure.
Scott. The stories of dogs finding their way home, all these telepathic connections, you want to call it, a resonant field, morphic fields. We are all connected. And if you really want to tune into this, it's love and devotion, because that is when you have that intention, that's when the animal connects with you. When you have that intention, not when you do something or think something, but when you have the intention of love and to receive communication from an animal, that's what clicks in.
Beautiful. That is a wonder. Linda, you have so much wisdom, and it's really delightful. A lot of people saying thank you.
Thank you.
So we're getting a lot of appreciations. So thank you, everybody, for watching. The majority of people that are going to watch this are going to watch the replay. About 10% of the people are live, and the rest watch it over the next week.
Yeah.
So for those of you watching live, thank you for joining us. Share this with your friends. And for those of you watching the replay, you can still pop some comments into the Facebook chat, and I'll try and get back to you. Or you can reach out to Linda Bender on Facebook, Dr. Linda Bender on Facebook, or lindabender.org is her website.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Scott. This has been beautiful.
Let's try it again sometime, and we'll definitely do
it again. I got 20,000 more stories.
I bet. We're going to do another animals show too, so we'll have you back for that.
Thank you,
everybody. God's blessings. We'll see you all soon. Have a wonderful sacred.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.